Namaste, and welcome, beloved, mighty companions, to this holy light circle of infinite light and love, the celebration of all that we are, everything, without limit, to be here together. What could be more powerful than to start with the infinite light of being? There isn't anything more powerful than that, because we can all see it now that we're light, because we have the power to do so. Jesus says so. What better reason than to start as the light of infinite being, celebrating just because it is, and then have this together. What a gift to be together, to look directly at the denials of divinity and to see how deep the little rabbit hole of helpless desire for experience of helplessness really goes. And that's what we've been talking about over the last couple of days, that desire for powerlessness, the desire for, we just ask the light and just keep checking in. As I say, Jesus says to me, you go until you're done. Until you're done. Okay, Jesus? And just keep looking at helplessness, that really deep desire to be acted on by a world. And boy, it's just put me on the ground. I'll tell you what, we watched Jesus of Nazareth. Now, I just really want to keep saying this, this voice is available to everyone. And we know that because we sit in these circles and everyone gets the same answer when we ask, is the light infinite? Is there something here that's infinite? And we can hear, there is something here that's beyond, that's before thought. We can see that that's just the voice for God right there. It just so happens, and how this expression works, I don't know. I just hear a voice I just hear it. So I talk all day long, correcting me, telling me what's up. Now, so the real interesting thing is listening to that voice and watching the movie from 1977 of Jesus of Nazareth. Now, what a movie. I said, Jesus, I just love this movie. I love it. And he says, why? Because it's pointing to devotion to divinity. The most powerful expression in consciousness, the Christ, that's the greatest story ever told. But to really hear it, how we've been listening to and studying A Course in Miracles, or you don't have to study the Course in Miracles. We can just, anyone devoted to a spiritual path is looking at the Christ mind, infinite Christ, infinite light of being that's here, and can hear that voice just as well. And take as we've been doing, take every question we have to the light of divine being. So watch, so much love in this, just so much love in that movie. To see it, we've watched all 6 hours today, like full Monty. And to really hear those words and see him know, and see how Franco Zeffirelli did such a spectacular job setting the stage and even interpreting the story beautifully. It's the story of our journey that we all go through. And then throughout this seeming timeline, we play all those different characters in the movie. The one that doesn't hear joy, or St. Peter, who rejects Jesus 3 times, and the Sanhedrin wanted to kill Jesus. And we've all played that role too. That was a really deep dive one time. Yeah, here, yes, I can talk about that. So, I was kind of, it's just helpful here. I can just say what's been helpful here. So I was kind of reviewing with Jesus. Okay, show me where in consciousness in the different plays of these characters in the dreaming, they're all happening at once. It seems sequential. And I knew at one point I wanted to kill that body of Christ. I wanted to kill Jesus. I could feel it. He was showing me. I was on the Sanhedrin. Played a role in the Sanhedrin, wanting to kill Jesus. He says, you've been running from me ever since then. I said, okay, you have me now. But we all play these roles in consciousness, the ones who want to kill. If we can look at anyone who recognizes that they're sequential dreaming, and we play different roles, it's not necessary, but for some of it's really helpful because it helped me see that flip between victim and victimizer. Yet you don't need sequential lives to see it. You can see it in this lifetime. If you look over the course of the life, as we're really being very observant about how consciousness plays to deny divinity and how it flips between trying to get power and victimize and be a victimizer, be a victim. I'm a victim. The helplessness, the desire for helplessness experience in consciousness. So of course I'm going to, many things that I asked the voice about to tell me about. I said, well, this is in consciousness. He says, yes, but it's a powerful teaching tool. It's a powerful demonstration of of awakening. And the power of that expression in consciousness, carrying I and the Father are one in the light of divine being and honesty of God. Is the light one with the Father? We're one with the Father. Yet we don't want to be. Have the experience. As I've said, we want to boot the light out. As simple as it is. Underneath the level of awareness, we want to be helpless. Wow, Jesus, show me. So he's showing all the desire, because without looking directly at that desire for that experience, I'm saying if you can't have supreme happiness, it's impossible. There'll always be judgment. We'll always feel like someone's trying to kill us, or we're going to try and protect ourselves and kill them first in our minds, not necessarily. But Jesus said it's the same. It's still a thought. So it's really helpful just watching all the roles that were being played in this movie to see the innocence in it. Jesus didn't see Judas Iscariot. He wouldn't have said, you betrayed me. He didn't believe in betrayal. How can one that doesn't believe in betrayal? How can the one who said anger is never justified? He's not going to be tossing things around. Now, that doesn't mean that he wouldn't have made, in the expression of consciousness, a pretty strong statement to the Sanhedrin that they wouldn't like. Because the ego's always looking for an argument. It's not that difficult. You don't have to throw over tables to get I had to have, for the reflection of some kind of kerfuffle, but he didn't believe it all. Pure. He's a symbol of purity. The Lamb of God, the innocence of God that's in the manifest. So he comes into the world as innocence, pure innocence. No fear, he said, no fear. At any time did he have fear. No fear. Walk this earth with no fear. He's only telling us that because it's us that we needn't be fear. We needn't have fear about anything. He had no fear. I'm just asking about Gethsemane, because inquiring minds want to know. I want to know about Gethsemane. What about that split bud? That's an idea. Once guilt is, if guilt's fully transcended, the only way pain appears is if there's guilt, the desire to keep pain, the desire for that guilt. Pain is a desire. He's given me the talk today. Pain is a desire for helplessness, the experience of helplessness. Let's just ask. In the light of divine being, is pain a desire to experience, be helpless? And hear what the light says. He's communicating to us. We need not fear helpless, or we need not fear pain, because fear is the desire for helplessness. It's all helplessness. Anger's helplessness. We were talking about that today. It's all the desire to be helpless and acted on by the world, seemingly something happening, and then we're acted on. Wow. And he's just, here's the example and consciousness that this need not be. But then, of course, the ego, the fear-based consciousness, is going to look at that appearance of the expression of divine love, even hanging on a cross, and look for and make the interpretation. Jesus suffered and died. It's not what he's saying here. Let's ask. In the light of divine being, did Jesus suffer? And hear the answer. We can all hear it. In the recognition of full unity with the absolute, pain's not possible. That's what he's saying in a course. That's why we keep looking at him every time pain shows up. No guilt, pain. And then here's the expression in consciousness, teaching from the cross. Amazing. I always think about that. How beautiful that is, how amazing that is. When I was in Jerusalem and they were talking about when beings get crucified, and I've talked about this before, obviously it's touching my heart now, so I'll have to speak about it again, but how they weren't up high, they were at the level of the road to Damascus, so that, because the Romans really wanted as many beings as possible to observe what they were doing, right? Instill fear in the play and consciousness. The only way to feel fear is desire to feel it. So, but in the play of consciousness, that was quote unquote the lesson at eye level. And so there's a lot of, and you don't see this depicted in the movies, but there was a lot of cursing. The crowd would curse, and the people on the cross, I mean, would we be cursing each other and calling names? And, you know, it's not like they just went silent. And now we have the one who knows, in that symbology of the story up there, teaching love from the cross. Teaching love from, because that was his mission, to teach love regardless of the circumstances. Wow. I have come to save the world, and he meant it to see that salvation's already here, which we can already see as light beings. In the light of divine being, is light already here? In our direct experience as light beings, can we see that it's here? And we can ask, in the light of divine being, is helplessness a desire to deny divine light? And if we're experiencing pain, do we have a desire for helplessness? And hear what the light says. Wow, that's eye-opening, isn't it? To see the desire for that experience of powerlessness and helplessness. But that's powerful, because then we're in honesty of God. We can truly be honest with having the light show us honestly, what are these underlying mechanisms of saying no to divine light? and how deep it goes, that we'll deny our Lord before the cock crows 3 times. You know, and Peter went and felt very guilty. And Jesus is not saying to say guilt. Does the light make anything guilty? Guilt is that extra stacking, not to look down and see, just look directly at the denial that the light's already here. Just ask him if guilt's a desire. Yeah, it's a desire to experience weakness. There's no way to get around that. There's no way to get around the desire experience for weakness. If we're not consistently at peace, then there's a desire there still. To have something below our level of awareness that denies the full power of divinity, of the light within. It's so helpful to see that directly. And again, see that everyone can sit through that movie who has the call for it and hear the light tell everything. There's nothing I'm saying that can't be automatically heard. If we can sit here and everyone go, and when the question's asked, is there something here that infinite? And you can see everybody's heads going, yeah, there's something here that doesn't die. That's the voice. There it is. The question, are we willing to consistently go back to that voice? Are we consistently willing to follow that voice? That's really the question. And when we see what we're giving up by not following it, we're giving up everything by not following that voice consistently, because that voice is the voice of everything, our own voice for totality, infinite, unchanging. Yeah, he's been talking to me about consistency too. You know, the beauty of these light circles is that they're very consistent, and how helpful that is to the speed. Being really consistent, coming in. Okay, let's look. Is the light here? And Jesus, light of divine being, and will you show me? We'll just pause and ask him to show us any call, any desire for experience of weakness. Will he show us that? Still below our level of awareness. To see that we are powerful beings, and we can stand into these things that arise in consciousness that need to be, that have been suppressed in the past, that need to kind of be seen directly with him without judgment. That's the beauty of the light circles too. This is the judgment-free zone. This is past judgment. Look directly at the desire for experience that says no to divine light. There's nothing faster, he's saying. There just isn't anything faster than light and denial of light. Looking directly. And following light, of course, because that's us, light. Seems pretty simple, but boy, it felt really complicated for a while, because I wasn't listening. That's why. It's the no that makes it complicated. It's the little dance around not really listening to him all the time. That's what makes it complicated. We're so used, not having that help or accepting the help from that voice to show where the honesty of God is. We're going sideways on ourselves. Jesus, is there anything else you'd like to show us regarding denial of infinite light? It just says we're worthy, more than worthy. That's what he keeps, at least he's saying here, we're powerful, infinite beings. There's only one being. Of course, we see that in the light, but it's helpful because in a way, there are no words. Can we find a border on this infinite light? When we look, is there a border where it ends? A border where it stops? Does it hold up a fence to hold things out? This is the Alpha and the Omega. I mean, it's so, oh my gosh, he's giving me a reminder here, you know. It's been very helpful reminder, but he's really given me a powerful image right now from, so here's the, I was, you know, we've been talking about really standing into listening to that voice, even in the kerfuffle. And it reminds me of him coming in. There's a beautiful scene, if you haven't seen it, where he's just been whipped. He's got the crucifix on, not the crucifix, the crown of thorns on. He's wrapped in red, and he walks in to talk to Pilate, you know. You know, there's no begging, there's no defense. There's just, I and my Father are one standing there, you know. He's like so in function regardless of everything that's going on. It was just a beautiful symbol of that. Just how function, we can't judge what function's going to look like. We need him to show us. But regardless, I mean, it's what a symbology that is, to stay in function, full power, however it looks. Because he's the symbol of not making all that real, all the yelling, all the screaming, all the crying, all the ballyhooing, all the whatever was happening. He's merely saying that is our power, is an infinite being. I don't know if he could make it for the here. Obviously, it's for me. I can see the whole Course in Miracles is for me. This whole movie watching is for me to see and learn. So in the recognition here, he can't make it any more clear. That is, as infinite beings, it is completely within our power to transcend this world. Transcend pain, transcend suffering. And in the light of the divine being, let's ask, in the light of divine being, is it possible to transcend all pain, all suffering? Is the light saying no?
She just wants to know what movie you're referencing.
Oh, that's right. You had to drop out. Thank you for asking. We're referencing Jesus of Nazareth. We just watched all 6 hours today. A full-on Jesus dose. Thank you for asking. It's from 1977. It's Franco Zeffirelli's version of Jesus of Nazareth, which is a real favorite for here. Obviously, I felt very blessed when he said, you know, we asked, and I heard we could watch it here because we pray on everything to him. And it's just so beautiful to see how it was, yeah, that consistency of the message. And how it's seemingly throughout time, despite everything that could happen to the Bible, those key phrases, the things that just shine with light, just cannot be changed. It's like, well, it's just like the lessons, you know, they're thoughts of God. Every lesson, of course, in Miracle is a thought of God. And, you know, I remember reading it again in the Earl text or somewhere where he's saying, you know, be not so concerned about all the details around the different books to what, you know, which version of ACIM. He was even pointing to the Bible. He says, look what's prevailed in the Bible all this time. And boy, I could, you know, it was like full on. Like we can watch these things. We may have watched them 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago, 3 months ago. But as we go deeper and deeper in this light, it's like, wow, you know, you just hear it with new ears. Like that's experience there, like, wow. Yeah, wow. The prodigal son story. We're welcomed home in the light of divine being and honesty of God. Are we already home as light beings? Is there anything other than light? Can we find anything in there other than light? And so here's the prodigal son story. The son that leaves the younger son and he squanders everything. Who does this sound like? You know, you heard that as a kid. But I've always been fascinated by it somewhat, you know? And then it starts to like really, here's a story 2,000 years ago, but seemingly in linear time, however that works, here it keeps popping up in consciousness. Look again, look again. And to really, in the light of divine being, is the Son of God always welcomed home? In the light of divine being, can we see that the Son never left home? In the light of divine, is it possible? We've talked about this. Can we escape this light even if we want to? Even if we run really fast and look again, is the light still there? Infinite light. It goes where we go because we're the light, you know. Heaven rejoices in totality with the recognition of light. The light's not booting us out. Is the light saying, okay, look, you went out, you played in consciousness, you know, you're squandered your inheritance out there playing in consciousness, you know, flying your little airplane, but your little shuttlecraft between all the asteroid belt out there. You know, you played in different places in consciousness and you had different careers. Is the light in our direct experience, the light of infinite being that's here going, too bad, you're out. The light's still here, just, you know, it's here. And does the light ever say, okay, now you're between the asteroid, but you did all that, and does it go, no, now I'm not going to help you? We can ask. I love that. And the light's been just gives so much joy just to ask that question. Jesus says, I'm so ridiculous. But it's part of the fun part, you know? We might as well have fun because otherwise it's too serious. In the light of divine being and honesty of God will, no matter how bad, quote unquote, we've been, denying ourselves right here this minute, will the light help us? Yes or no? In the light of divine being is the only question we can, I can hear yes. I don't know if anybody getting a no out there. It's good to check in. We can hear the yes is for this, right? The light is always going to say yes. Well, ask the light. Are you always going to say yes? The light's delighted that we're asking. Let's ask. The light yes. Okay. Let's go. You did it. You asked me. You finally asked. No, it doesn't do that. But it gets to the point, the experience here is we get this lift just asking the light to go, because we're talking to ourselves finally in a real way. We're really starting to have a conversation with ourselves as divine beings, to really follow the heart in a real way, to follow the expression of divinity by consistently asking this internal dialogue. Is this true? So we're acting out of wholeness, out of divine being. And to see that the light doesn't say no to us from in willingness to help us now. I'm just going to have a little caveat. This is just the experience here. because we're so used to saying no to ourselves, it's helpful to ask the question, is this whatever we're thinking about doing? And we've talked about it before, it's been just so helpful to say, okay, Jesus or light, however we speak, however it works for each being, I don't really know. I just know here, I just know there's a light and it speaks to everyone. And to ask it, is this, when I'm seemingly going to do something, is this, well, he says, is this most helpful? And the light will say no. We'll ask the light. Will the light tell us no if we ask when it's not most helpful? So the light can be that direct about going, no, that's not what's most helpful. That's for the celebration of divinity. So, you know, it comes in, it can be so direct. If we're asking that consistently, it's a relief. I've talked about this before, such a relief. Do I need to spend any mind time on? No. How about that? You know, I'm just getting ready to reach over for something. No, okay. But will we drop it? That's the thing. When we hear really and we're listening, are we willing to drop that, what we wanted to do? Because I can see that tendency. And it was here, it played for a while. It's getting less and less, you know, right? Because we see what we're saying yes to. We're saying yes to infinity. And that's looking pretty good. It's looking divinely happy, which is what, if we want, if the supreme happiness, what we want. So then that itch to keep going, that habit, it's breaking the habit of delusion, of following the delusion, the wanting of something in form to deny divinity. And so that consistency, okay, what about this? And we talked about it too. For me, it's like, it's the God training wheels. Yes, sir. Whereas that would have been, I'm not listening to nobody. I'm not getting help from nobody, and I'm not listening to nobody. But when, yes, we start seeing, wow, we're saying yes to, oh my God, everything. We're saying yes to infinite happiness. And we're learning how to say no to weakness and powerlessness. The jig is up. The jig is up. As soon as that, we go right in there, direct looking, cannot survive in that. And standing together in truth. And holding, you know, standing shoulder to shoulder and saying, what are you hearing? And trusting our brother, because we can tune in together, because we both can go into the same radio station because we're one. But we're so used to trying to get something horizontal in interactions with other beings, that wanting energy, and we can start to feel that too, and ask Jesus, is this a sideways? We call it sideways here. Am I going sideways? He'll go, yeah. It's like, all right. And so we're learning to go up and then join with mighty companions and really listen together. See, that's a really strong tune into the channel of infinite when we come together and ask. Particularly when we're joining with beings, I've talked about this before, that do not compromise on that voice. Like, we just hang out in that, because the egos, again, we talked about this before, is going to go hunting for proof of limitation. So and Jesus says this too, doesn't he? It's a good reminder for me. Like he says, you've already made the decision and then you come to me. See, you've already made the decision and you want me to, and it's neither are helpful. You know, you want me to give you the big, you know, he's just not going to do that. But you can start to see that in movement and consciousness. You start to move, see that the decision has already been made. The decision not to join, the decision to run, the decision not to stand into, the decision for weakness. You can see it in our but also seemingly out there in form. Through movies, watching movies, we can watch the abdication of creative power. That's why we watch so many movies here. Because it's really that light training. Stay as the light, and then listen to that voice teach you about how consciousness functions. We talked about this morning, to deny itself. Because I could see what was happening here, at least in the learning at the retraining program by the Jesus, is there was a ping off of everything. Like something would arise in consciousness, and then I didn't see it as subtle defense. It'd be a little story would ping off of that, why that's wrong, and it would go off and to create a whole tree out there. You know, it would proliferate. Like, and I didn't see that, the subtle defense in that. Like what all the problems were, the left and right, the sideways, I just didn't see it. He's really teaching me, like in spades, every single how much I need him. It's me. It's part of me that's God, you know, the part of all of us. We embrace and go, yes, that voice is for me. It's not for any other purpose than for transcending personal identity. Supreme happiness voice. Then we're taking the supreme happiness ride. But we just catch those little things more and more, those little sideways moves, and then we have the help of the voice that knows where the sideways is. And we ask and ask and ask until we can't ask, think we can't ask anymore. And then I asked him, do I still need to ask? And I can hear him now going, yep. I still Except it's like he's saying, now we're in happy learner mode. You come so happy and more happy, and because we've accepted honesty of God being that we're divine, looking directly at the denials that we're divine with Jesus, directly, no sideways, no nothing, give it to me straight, Jesus, and ceasing to deny and asking him where we're denying. You know, it's just a constant. And boy, every day it's like more and more, I say, you cannot get out of this. You can, I guess, there's lots of paths, but the fastest path clearly for here is that voice. Because you start to see how deep that rat hole is, consciousness. How deep we dug. Let me bury myself in all of this plethora of choices, seemingly, right? I just asked him, Jesus he's going, yes. Okay. So it was like, so is helplessness the desire for choice? Yes. How about that? Because then through helplessness, then we can start looking at a horizontal level for salvation through choice. I'm helpless, so I need help. And I can get help through a choice. Man, I just want to be clear. Yes. Wow. To try to get salvation through choice. That there's a better choice that can save me. When salvation is the light looking for choice to save itself. In our direct experiences, light being is the light looking for choice somehow. Doesn't know what choice is. So as he says, we start to see that choice is just a play occurring in consciousness. That we're ringing the death toll bell every time we believe that a choice is real. Because choice believed is a no to what has no choice. Doesn't need choice. What's whole? What would light do with choice if it had it? Is infinite light no choice? If it's whole and complete, what would it be choosing between? But as long as that desire for the experience of choices, or we have another question.
So we can't really choose peace.
Well, that's a beautiful question, by the way. Well, let's ask the light. In the light of divine being, is there a choice to be peace? See, peace is our identity. It's who we are. So Jesus is using the seeming choice to be peaceful to really start to show us that we're really choosing not to be peaceful. Does that make sense? So he's pointing to the fact we are peace as our true identity, and we can ask the light. And the light of divine being, is peace our identity? Here the light says. Does the light know anything other than peace? So we are peace itself. And then the only reason why we don't experience because of choice, we move out of, we just go, poof, don't want that, da-da-da. So he's trying to point us, we're so used to choice, he's going, choose peace instead of this, until we see, wait a minute, there's no freaking choice to be peace because I'm already peace. It's already here as divine light. So he's just turning us from that outward choosing otherness. He's taking us back. He's taking us back to look, wait a minute, let's see what's really here. And we can see infinite light is peace itself. Does infinite light know what suffering is? Does infinite light choose against itself ever? And say, look, I'm going to have a day without being. So I never say it's good to look at because we take that we're going to have a day without sunshine and happiness for granted. You can see the light's not saying that at all. It's love, and it just grows when he says choose peace. Yeah, be who we are. That's what he's saying. Choose to be who you are because you've been choosing against yourself this whole time. We're already peace. We're already in the lap of God, pretending like, I know, I always had this little vision came up where I'm sitting in the lap of God when I was realizing what's happening, putting up the pros. No, I don't want to be God. You got a little, I don't be God in front of God. It's like, this is a great thing to ask infinite light. Infinite light, even if I don't want to be peace, am I still peace? Isn't that glorious? So even if we don't want to be peace, we're already peace. See, it's that dream. We fall asleep and pretend like we're not peace. We're so adorable. God loves us anyway. That's why we're looking at the prodigal son story. It's so good. He's going to say, the light's not telling us, look, it is a light telling us, look, go out and get a job. And you get a job and make some money, then come home. It doesn't have any of that. It's just light is light is light. And then we pretend like we're weak so that we can have an experience like we're not that. And even if we have the experience of being not that, and we pretend like we're weak and we look again, the light's there. That's why I finally just went, wait a minute, what am I fighting against here? Light's already here. And then you start to see, oh my gosh, Jesus, you're so right. I'm insane. I'm doing some silly, insane stuff here. I'm saying no to what's already here. Like I'm running around the world searching to be peaceful, and I'm already peace. We're already light. Too late. It's already done. It's always good to look again as many times as we need to go, is salvation already here in the light of divine being? Is salvation here? Does the light say no? Does the light go, well, it's almost here. Got another 15 minutes of time. No. And here's the crazy. This is why it's so funny, right? The world ends in a happy laughter because they say, wait a minute. Is the light going, okay, now you're going to have to wait 20. When we say, okay, is the light here? Is the light going, okay, don't notice that you're light yet. Is the light going, wait? No, the light answers immediate. Does anybody has like a delayed light thing when you ask? Is the light here? Can you hear? It's like is there like sometimes at first, where we're getting used to like hearing and going, yeah, there's something here that's infinite, but you can see it starts coming. It's like that. It's not. It's like, and I can just remember going, where's the light? When am I ever going to see God? You start seeing God when we cease saying no to the light. That's when we see, that's when it grows. And we just keep looking at denials. If it's not this infinite peace, then we just keep looking. Okay, Jesus? Okay, did we get another question? Okay, we're open to questions. Jesus, okay. What's the question?
Light doesn't have a motion sensor.
No, it doesn't. How about that? No motion sensor in the light. That's right. Doesn't get involved in motion at all. No. But that's the play in consciousness. Maybe that's what consciousness is, a motion sensor. That's all it is. It's sensing motion, but then it says, I'm the motion. And actually, a motion sensor on our house is more intelligent than the way consciousness behaves, because at least a motion sensor, it clicks on when it sees the motion, but it doesn't get involved in what's moving out there at all. It sees a motion, but it's not going, that's me. So that only concludes that motion sensors are more enlightened than most of us, because it doesn't get involved with would it go. Doesn't get involved. Does infinite light get involved with the motion? Doesn't get involved with it. So that's what we call getting into the play. Right? When we start following that motion, jumping off the stillness platform into the movement, which is that jumping off, that's that itch to engage in judgment, right? We're going to go out there. And then that just, it's like a little proliferation of thoughts and ideas and stories and storylines. And we look with the divine light, does it have any storyline in it? But it can play. It can play in the motion a bit. We can see, we'll play. We still, it's like we still talk to one another. That's still that play, as though there's one over there, there's one over here. That still plays in consciousness. But see that the light has really no challenge with that either. The light's not going, well, it's the ego that looks for enlightenment to look a certain way. Does the light have any idea about how enlightenment works? Is it looking for okay, you're the enlightened one stamp on somebody's head? The light's just light. Infinite, unchanging. And we focus on the light. At first, it's helpful, because then we'll just see, does the light focus on anything? Light just is. See, But Jesus is using that power within consciousness for discernment, to discern when we're falling back into the death sleep, to watch, to use the power of focus, to see when we're starting to follow like the movement, like we're jumping into the movement, to follow it. So we focus on light, that we have the power to do that until we see there's no focus. Pure unborn awareness doesn't know what focus is. So focus is a function in consciousness. And Jesus is taking all the functions of consciousness that are used to try to prove death, to turn it, flip it back on itself, to see what true life is. What's eternal, unchanging, infinite. What cannot be changed by time and space, even if we want to write a whole play about trying to be changed by, a whole play about not being infinite. It's like too late, we're already infinite. That's why he says in the Course, that story of the crucifixion. It's like the crucifixion we need to be concerned about is the one that happens every moment that we say no to light. Every moment we deny ourselves everything. Is the kingdom of heaven the light? In our direct experience, we know this. How do we know that? Because we're light. The only way it can be known that there's something that's infinite is for infinite to see it. Can the ego recognize light? See, we know this. Ego cannot recognize, because first of all, it's fictitious. Is the ego real? Listen in the light. Is consciousness real? In the light of divine being, does consciousness actually exist? It's a dream. The happiness is learning that the dream does not exist and bears nothing on the Son of God, who's total, whole, and complete. That we come together to celebrate every day. So we thank you for joining us, and we send you a love from San Juan Kosala, and we thank you for your questions. Keep them coming. The flight doesn't have a motion sensor. I love that.